Hey babes, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. Hi, hello, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the Be Real Babe show, a spinoff of the Be Real Babe podcast. I'm so excited, you guys. This is the second episode that I am posting exclusively to YouTube, and today's series is going to be Internet Insanity, and I'm pumped, you guys. Not pumped and not pumped, because it depends on what topics I find that I bring to you. Some of them are great, some of them are terrifying, some of them I wish I never read. But that's the whole part of it. Now, for those that know, maybe that you don't, I used to have a series, or did have a series on the podcast called What in the Actual Internet, where I'd bring some of my friends on and guests, and we would look at weird shit on the internet and surprise each other with random stories. And this kind of stems from the podcast, always talking kind of about Hollywood and pop culture and all those things. But the podcast is getting so busy with so many amazing interviews that I thought I'll just break it off. And I, as explained in the last Keeping Up with Canada, the first post on YouTube that I had for this season, which again, I don't know how I'm going to all do this, but just bear with me as I work this out. I'm trying to get from podcaster to YouTuber mind. It's very different in some ways. But yeah, so basically I'm going to bring you guys some topics that I find on the internet, whether that's searching through random Google stuff, whether that's a TikTok rabbit hole, whether that's something I found on Instagram, or a catch up of a topic that I had from the podcast. There's a couple topics today. That one is new, and a couple are kind of new and catch-ups of some of the episodes that I had in the podcast. And again, I'll make sure to link those down in the description below, so you guys can go and watch those episodes to kind of understand where it's coming from. But if you guys want to hear a little bit about what I have found catching up with the infamous, famous Ash Trevino and the Resilient Jenkins family, which I talked about on episode 210 of the podcast, I'm also going to talk about sextortion and what that means on Instagram, and something that I think parents should be paying attention to. What I have found on the internet that hits close to home, guys, is happening to Canadians as well. And if you're listening anywhere in the world, really, but it happens in our backyard. And then I'm going to end that with a special treat that I found, episode that I found from one of my favorite YouTubers, talking about a 17-year-old that went to an OF house, content house, which is kind of just want to talk about the lines. No judgment here, but just wondering what the actual fucking lines are out there these days, and just to get your guys' opinion on these things and take a break from talking about Canada and the craziness that is in. So if you guys are into that, please stick around and let's jump right into it. Okay, guys, getting right into it. So as I mentioned, one of the first topics that I wanted to bring up, I did do an episode in the last season. It was episode 205, and it was online safety. And I went through the episode talking about my experience with the hack, because I fell for one of those very tricky emails with my Facebook, and last year I got hacked, and that was a whole story. So if you want to go there, you can listen to that. But I also wanted to bring light, especially around the Christmas time is when this episode launched. There was a lot, at Christmas time, kids get new electronics, more kids are going online, more and more and more. Even though I feel like parents are a lot more in tune with what's going on these days versus for when we were kids, or myself as an elder millennial, when we were kids, this just wasn't a thing. And as time develops, it's just getting more intense and more intense. But I really wanted to bring a couple of stories and just these thoughts to parents' mind. As much as I really wish this wasn't true and this wasn't happening, it is happening. It's happening to adults. But the saddest thing is that it's happening to kids a lot. And the problem that I'm struggling with this is that I don't think parents know, kids know, because what happens, it sounds like, with most of these cases that I've been reading about sextortion is they're just too ashamed to talk to their families about it. And then they end up, self-removing from the planet. And unfortunately, parents had no idea this was going on, and I'm not saying that by them knowing that would have changed the outcome at all, but hopefully the more and more we talk about this, the more and more maybe parents talk to their kids about this, they could be either prepared to come and talk to them, look for the signs, kind of just having the conversation of, it's kind of like, when some people go to strippers for the first time and just being like, hey, I know they're acting like they like you and all that, but they're probably scamming you. And when it's over the internet, it's a lot harder for kids to discern, especially and teenagers that don't know, where it's like, when you go out to a strip club, like, it's kind of obvious, you can see them, but this could just not even be a real person. Your information could have been sold to someone, and it's probably not a woman, and they've now got your photos, and now they're threatening you and they're scamming you out of money. And if you go back to episode 205, I spoke about a governor down in the States, a senator, I believe it was, down in the States, who was fighting for his son, who got wrapped up in a sextortion on Instagram. And it sounds like majority of this does, I'm sure it happens everywhere, you guys, like I wouldn't doubt it, but it does seem like most of the stories that I've read in this topic seem to come from Instagram. And I believe Snapchat's probably a really bad place. In the episode 205 on the podcast, I did talk about a child that was developing a very concerning relationship with a chat AI bot. And so that's a really good story for people to go and read, and just the warnings from this child's parents. And then we also talked about a drug deal, all the drug dealings that kind of go on through Snapchat, and a mom that is fighting for parents to know because her son got a bad batch, which I'm not sure there's good batches of fentanyl, but you know what I'm saying, passed away from fentanyl. From dealing over Snapchat, and then also the governor speaking about his son being through sextortion. So let's go to the first article, and full credit goes to Death to Scrolling on Instagram. We'll try to make sure to link her down in the description as well, her YouTube. And I really, if you're a parent, it doesn't matter how old, get knowledgeable now so you can keep up with the times. But I just think it's really important because, it's never going to go away. I don't believe any of this stuff is going to go away. But we can at least protect ourselves if the platforms themselves aren't going to be protecting. At least knowing these things are out there. I guess I kind of knew, but just reading these stories really hit home. So I think it's really important. So let's read this first article here. Again, it's down from the States, and it's from News 40. So Barron County, Kentucky, I want to say. I think it's KY. So sextortion is a growing issue where predators demand money from victims in exchange for not exposing sexually explicit images or videos. Tragically, one local family is now facing the devastating loss of their son due to the rising threat. Eli Heacock, a beloved teen known for his light and love in the community, became a victim of sextortion moments before he took his own life. Eli's family learned the heartbreaking details through a detective's investigation. Within an hour, a predator had sent messages demanding $3,000 from Eli. His parents never imagined that such a sinister form of exploitation would touch their lives. This tragic incident highlighted how quickly the pressure from an online predator can escalate, especially for vulnerable teens. This is a taboo subject, something you can't talk about, said Eli's parents. Now our son was murdered, but it needs to be talked about. The pain of losing a child is unimaginable. I can't even. Yet Eli's family wants to shed light on the dangers of sextortion in hopes of preventing other families from experiencing the same horror. Has FBI reported alarming increase of cases involving sextortion, particularly targeting children, teens. Eli's parents now advocate for awareness and are determined to prevent other parents from facing the unimaginable. We don't want someone else to go through this, they said. I will be a voice. And honestly, I feel like that is the most beautiful thing. But it's also, again, it's so sad that we have to go to these, that it comes up on conversation when the most extreme happens, right? Like, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Like, maybe that's just what's hitting the news. Maybe there are, and please comment if you have experienced this. Like, have you talked to this with your children? I'd really love to know the online conversations that parents are having. Again, for those that don't know, my cat mom, which I know is not mom to a lot of people, so I don't have those conversations. And most of my friends, they have young kids, so I'm just curious, younger kids, but teenagers and all that. Do you have conversations? Are you advising them like, hey, sextortion is a thing, unfortunately these can happen, here are the signs to look out for, and if this ever happens, please come and talk to me. It's every single time, every article that I read about when this happens, it is such a shake up to the community because most people have no idea, and it's kind of all over the place. And if people don't talk about it, this is why I think it's so important to talk about this stuff. If people aren't talking about it, then how do we know, right? So I wanted to not just bring this topic to light a little bit more, and again, point you guys, and I'll link her below to her YouTube, to parents to get really informed of what's happening on all sorts of platforms, not just this super informative show. But I also wanted to share, I found an article about Instagram launches new safety features to help protect teens from sextortion scams. So I kind of wanted to share this article as well with you guys. It's from Raleigh, North Carolina, I think NC. I gotta get better at my states, y'all. But there's a new push to prevent. This is back from October 2024, but I just thought it was kind of a good article if you're trying to look for some resources. Again, I'll link all the articles in the description box below. But there's new push to prevent teens from falling victim from sextortion scams. Instagram launched new safety features to try and protect teens against sextortion. Sextortion is a crime when someone convinces a teen to send sexually explicit images or videos and then threatens to release them to friends, families, and followers if the person in the picture does not send them money or gift cards. These are coordinated criminal scammers. They're very, very aggressive and very good about pressuring people into sending images. They start out aggressive, they move quickly into pressuring someone into sending images, and then they quickly move into trying to move you off the platform where they find you on a different platform. Oh, so they stalk you. So this is the safety police at Meta, which owns Instagram. Instagram launching these new features to help teens spot and avoid sextortion. One way in which these scams often manifest is someone reaching out to you, someone you don't know, and pretends to be a classmate or someone from the next school or next town over, when in fact there's someone from way across the world. So now I guess it's saying that Instagram will prompt the user with a warning letter that the teen to let them know that chatting with someone from a different country, which obviously I'm not a teen, so I don't know if that's true or not, but another safety feature involves Instagram blocking the ability of people to screenshot or record images that are sent as view once in chat. Another feature gives the users the ability to hide follower lists. Okay. What we know is that sextortion scammers use these follower lists to coerce and pressure their targets. They say essentially that I'm going to share these images with people on your follower list. So we're making sure that potentially scammy accounts can't even see these follower lists. Okay, so that's a couple things. So over a 6-month period, the agency said it had 20% increase in reporting of financially motivated sextortion crimes that the FBI can lead victims to self-harm or even suicide, which that's obviously what this came up in my life, is just hearing about these stories of these kids and them, taking their lives because they're being exploited. And from someone that, the people that hacked me did try to exploit me. They said that they caught me on porn sites doing things, and they had got a hold of my video. And I Googled it, and it turns out that was like a very generic threat that they tried to say to get money off of you. Obviously I didn't fall for it. I didn't give them any money because I don't do those things and I don't go to those websites. So they really should have watched my show and they would have known how I feel about porn. Whatever, teach their own. This is not I'm not yucking your yum, but it's not my yum, if that makes sense. But even myself, I didn't even do it. And I was panicked, being like, okay, did they maybe get into my camera when I was having sex with my fiance? What? I panicked a little bit. So I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be a teenager in this situation. And any teen or kid or parent, make sure, please, if you can, have these conversations. I know it's awkward. I know it's a hard conversation, but the conversations after 10 times more, you don't want to have to be a parent advocate. You know what I'm saying? Amazing that these parents are doing it. No shade to them. How the fuck would you know? But it's for me, it's as soon as I find out about this, I have to share it on the show. Again, this is another reason why I wanted to move this, because I want to have a little bit more quick, concise stories, even though this one's not being concise at the moment, just to get more out to you guys, to have you go and look at these things yourself and you decide. But I think this one we can all get on board with. But I also just wanted to share for my fellow Canadians some statistics right here in Canada, which again, people always, not always, but some people think it doesn't happen, but it happens right in our backyard. So this is actually from the Stat Canada government website. So online child sexual exploitation, the outcomes of police reported incidents from 2014 to 2021. So police reported incidents of online child exploitation in Canada in 2023. There were 19,516 online child sexual exploitation incidents reported by police in 2023, translating to the rate of 262 incidents per 100,000 children and youth in Canada, a 59% increase from the rate reported by police in 2022. In 1 year, it went up 59%. Online child pornography incidents accounted for 87% of online child exploitation incidents in 2023, most 87% of which were for making and distributing child pornography. Incidents of sexual online offenses against children were made up of 13% of total OCSE incidents. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that was a little bit shocking to me. That's why, again, this isn't a Canada episode, so I want to keep it really light, but I just want to encourage Canadians, if you think, this can't possibly be happening, I really encourage you. This is, again, right on our www.150.sk. I'll actually link it in the description box below. But this easy Google finds, you guys. It didn't take me much to find this, so yeah, just want to be aware. So that's something important and kind of serious. And, I really do want to try and keep these a little bit more lighter, but there's going to be times. And I just think, again, this is internet insanity, right? I wanted to talk about stuff that is insane on the internet, and kids being extorted online is huge. And that leads right into my next topic, episode 210 on the podcast, again, on Rumble, Spotify, and Apple, Spotify, and Rumble. And I'll link that below. Me and Hales talked about, what in the actual internet? Are these people parents? Like, are you kidding me? How do they have kids? And we talked about the infamous Ash Trevino, and wanted to just give a little update there. I know that she is constantly going all over the place. There's no lack of content for this individual, but I just kind of have explained her lore. And to me, this is just where I struggle with what is child abuse and extortion. And I don't know if I even really want to jump in again to who exactly Ash Trevino is, but just kind of talking in general about Ash and Brazilian Jenkins, which we also talked on that show. And again, I'm not throwing necessarily shade at these individuals because I'm not a parent, so I don't know what is right or what is wrong. But what I do find is wrong, and what I do want to speak about in these situations, is what happens when the kids are getting exploited. And I've talked about this before, Ruby Frankie, and her kids are coming out and all of that. And I guess my question is like, when's the level until we say no more, right? Like, and I understand if they've, there's probably worse out there, but referring specifically to Ash Trevino, since I talked about in the last episode, she's brought her children with her when she did a podcast at the Bop House. And for those that don't know what the Bop House is, it's a kind of like a content creation house where OF models work together, kind of like, I don't know, I guess a sorority. It sounds like a sorority of kind of idea of OF models, that are together. And she got onto an interview with one of the girls that opened that. I can't remember her name, so I don't want to butcher it. But actually, where I have a poll up right here. Sophie Rain, she is, I guess, one of the biggest OF stars out there. Again, I don't know much about the topic, so not going to get into it. But she brought her on for an interview, which some of the questions she did really good at grilling her. Like, I totally think it's important. But her daughters were there, and her daughters are very much underage, and I just don't think it's right. I feel really bad for her kids in a sense, and maybe they want this, but I think they're too young to understand what that is. Like, we're seeing some of the damage now from like 8 passengers, of all these different families that have abused their children, use them for content, and that's the only way they make money. Like, that shit gets hard, right? Like, I can understand, and there's some people that claim, like the Ace family that also had a family vlogger. Once they broke up, it's like they don't have their kids anymore. They don't have that content. What's that doing? Are they reaching? Are they making stuff up? It opens up things that aren't great. And if we look at, that wasn't great English. Sorry guys, I'm really going to be better for the next couple episodes. I just straight up, honest, real truth is that I really wasn't ready for this series until next weekend. But because I don't have OCD, but I have OCD tendencies, especially when it comes to how things are. And I haven't fucked up my grid on my Instagram or posting on this podcast for 4 years, and I'm not going to start now. So I'd rather this be janky than not, but just like, stick with me here, right? So I'm just all over the place. But at the end of the day, it's just like, we see how Hollywood and kids in Hollywood and all that, we've talked about this in the past in the podcast, and how they're coming out now and how messed up they were, and so we're seeing that with YouTubers, TikTokers, all that, family vloggers. We're seeing some of them come out now saying how detrimental it is. So again, what I talked about before, like, can we just pause? Like, why do we have to go so hard? Can we pause? Can we blur their faces out? Can you talk about being a parent in your family without putting your kids on TV? Like, can you retell the story? Can you blur them out? Like, are there ways that you can protect them? And you guys comment below and let me know, is there any family vloggers that you find that are ethical, or TikTokers or momfluencers? Like, most people across the board, and I feel like I don't want to say this because she is trying to sue people. I'm saying this is what other people saying. Ash Trevino, I'm not saying it. I'm a poor Canadian. You're not going to make any money out of me. But they're saying she's super dangerous in the things that she does. Like, for those that don't know, go back to 210, but like, high level, she's known as the inmate hopper. So she is just like bringing alleged real criminals around her children that, again, are in their teenage years. I think they're high school, very early high school, maybe late junior high, very, very young. Again, she's bringing them to the Bop House. And again, no shade to the girls at the Bop House. I'm sure they're great, but they could have maybe met somewhere else, maybe did something in a park. Like, she didn't need to bring the kids there. I just think it's an interesting place. And also you can see the kids being uncomfortable with some of the answers. This woman has been known to just drink allegedly a lot from what I've seen from the videos, and someone that comes from, a child of alcohol. Like, I hate that. It just seems like prioritizing parties and influence, which, not a lot, but there's moms that do that had kids too young and they didn't get a chance to party, and all of a sudden now you're famous. So like, I can totally understand where that must be a hard thing to deal with and come up to wanting to be a part of this and capitalize on the attention that you're getting and try to do something and make something for yourself at the same time. Like, can we not sacrifice your kids? Can we put them at priority? Do we need to be putting them in certain situations? Like, I just don't know. Again, I'm not a parent. You guys tell me what you think, but court of public opinion is saying she's the worst mom influencer and she's not taking care of her kids. So you guys let me know what you think. Go back to episode 210 to learn a little bit more. Go look on TikTok. You do not miss her anywhere. And I'll also link this article here below from my social news.com that kind of brought this to the light, where I'm kind of like pulling stuff from here. Yeah, I'm just not, I don't love it. Again, it goes back to problematic things, problematic people. Not a huge fan. Same going back to the Brazilian Jenkins, and both women are on social media saying like, anybody talking to me, I'm going to sue them, and you don't have judgment and all that. And I think like, yeah, for sure, we got to work on like being compassionate and understanding. I think where the line is for me is when you start capitalizing on that, because like, you didn't have to do a video of that. You didn't have to post it. That could have stayed in the drafts. I feel like there's a lot of things that could have stayed in the drafts, So in one sense, yeah, I totally agree. Like, we definitely need to not be so judgmental, especially when some of the ways that, Brazilian Jenkins came on the board. It was like, okay, we have a big family and they're crammed in one house and one small apartment, one bedroom. And at first it's like, yeah, absolutely. We're not going to shame people that can't afford it. Like, things happen, shit happens, especially Canadians right now. Everyone's just one fucking paycheck away, right? So I totally get it. But then there's other things that keep not adding up. And at the same time, it's just like, you're an adult. You should be responsible for not like progressing. Like, again, pause. Do you have to have another baby right now? Can you pause and set up your life and then get maybe a little bit of a bigger place and then have another one? What is the rush? Why are we always rushing? Why do we have so much? So allegedly, again, go back to episode 210 to learn a little bit more about Brazilian Jenkins. But again, this is just like a known family on TikTok that is a vlogger, where, a lot of people are questioning how the kids are staying. They're trying to add to the family when people are already saying, you already have too many people in a one-bedroom apartment. There's allegations of the father not paying for his past children. There's a lot of drama there. Again, go back to that. But allegedly, it sounds like they're getting evicted. She has been posting stuff on this. As far as I know, since the airing of this episode, I don't think they had anywhere to go, but they're currently looking. I believe that it says it got filed January 7th, 2025, so I'm not sure how long they have. But again, it just kind of makes me sad. And I just kind of want to reiterate again, like, you didn't have to bring this to social media. So when you're getting upset with people judging, again, I can understand when the public comes for people and there's mob mentality and it is silly and unjust, and absolutely that does happen. But there is a lot of time where it is just. And you know how you stop getting that? You don't post it. You don't post it. I posted my first somewhat political TikTok 2 days ago and my heart was racing. I know what I'm doing. I know that some Canadians might not like what I have to say about our country and politics, and that's okay. I'm here to have a conversation. And it's the same thing with individuals like this. At what point? Brings me back to the Bop House. And again, ladies, I'm not shading you on OF. I'm not saying that, but this is just what triggered this conversation, as there was another 17-year-old that went there just to film regular content, and I can't say anything because I remember being in my 20s and I had friends that were a little bit younger and I did want to mentor them. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have friends and that you shouldn't, if it was all clean and whatnot, sure. But again, why can't we do this somewhere else? Why did it have to be at that specific house? Again, you're just breeding drama. Is it rage bait? Is that what you're doing? But that's not even the problem that I have. Back to exploiting kids on the internet. these accounts are allegedly, and there's other girls like Danielle Kahn, I think her last name was, and I'm going to link actually that put this on the radar to me the first time was Amala Epinobi, sorry. I'll link her YouTube. She did 2, and I'll link both of them in the description box to go watch them. She breaks out this even more, but it brings back to my original point of children being exploited, and sometimes they can be exploited through family vloggers. Sometimes they can be exploited from sextortions on social media. They can also be extorted by just selling their pictures on websites when they're under 18 and they can't go to OF. So is there a problem of her going there and being friends with them? Her parents are consenting, I guess, but at the same time, it's like, but you're selling photos. It's a pipeline. Is she being protected? Does she know what she's talking about? Who are looking at these photos? Why is this necessary? Why are the parents in charge of this? Furthermore to that, there's no laws really. It sounds like there's some laws that are starting to happen for like online children and YouTubes and making money in some states, but not everywhere. And so again, these kids are getting extorted. Do they know what they're signing up for? And what pipeline is that putting on them? And are their parents treating them, or money being put away across the board for these kids? I don't think so. Obviously not from the first story, but so again, it's just like, I'm so excited we have progression in social media because a lot of people wouldn't know and we wouldn't be connected. I wouldn't have the show. Absolutely understand it. But it's just like, at what point, where's the boundary? What do you guys think? Is this a boundary that's passed? Should it matter? If the parents are involved, should it be okay that, underage girls are having their pictures sold, even naughty or not, oh, she's wearing clothes, but in a sexual, like, what do you guys think is the line? Because like me personally, I just don't love it. But I don't have any skin in this game. So it's like, just my opinion. If you're upset with that, sorry. I felt sexually extorted as a teenager, and I know that caused a lot of stuff, and I had a real messed up 20s, and I did things I wasn't proud of. And at the time it was just like, in the name of feminism and empowerment. And as I'm aging and getting into my 40s in the next couple of years, it's just, I really misinterpreted what that was, and I do have to deal with it now. And so, again, girlies, do whatever you want to do. Again, just be informed and talk to maybe people that got out of that. Like, look at all sides. So, if you're starting to get depressed or have things you're not feeling in alignment, things don't feel good, or you put yourself in a dangerous position possibly, which, I'm going to talk about in the next segment of, like female streamers and the ones that have been doxxed lately and the dangers that they've been put in, right? So just really want people to be aware before they put themselves out there, myself included. I'm aware, and I'm sure I didn't do the best things, but, when you start getting to the millions of followers and you're posting pictures and making money off of them, it becomes a weird thing. I think there's a weird line of people with their parasocial relationships. You kind of bring in some of the creeps, you know what I'm saying? Like the crazies. Like, so just be careful, girlies, is all I'm saying. But I really want to try and not make this a half an hour episode, but hey, c'est la vie. Again, trying new things, guys. Please be patient while I build this YouTube. Like I said, I have been podcasting for the last 4 years, so I am so bred into talking like a podcaster, but I definitely want to keep it more casual. As you can see, my hands, I'm French, so you can see my hands are going. I want it to be more casual, where I'm wearing, my sweats and my cozies, and we're just looking at articles online. I want to learn how to edit some of these things a little bit better, and hopefully not be as discombobulated and posting the night before. But again, just wanted to get it out there, and just like with the podcast, I know that I'll be able to grow this, and you guys will be patient because you're amazing already. If you haven't already, Keeping Up with Canada, if you're Canadian, is over again on the YouTube channel. That's the first one I posted of the show. Again, changing from Be Real Babe podcast. On there, you're going to get all my episodes with all of my guests. Any huge deep dives, like I'm going to be diving deep into the fentanyl crisis here in Canada, so I am going to be bringing that to the podcast. So expect more deep dives, human interest pieces over on Rumble, Spotify, and Apple at the Be Real Babe podcast. And here on YouTube exclusively is going to be weekly recaps. My hope is to post Mondays and Wednesdays. So on Mondays, I'm hoping to bring you Keeping Up with Canada, all focused on what is going on and what I've heard in the week of Canadian happenings, politics, all that kind of stuff. And then every Wednesday, I hope to bring this segment of Internet Insanity, where again, I gather either random shit, crazy YouTube. I also fell down a rabbit hole, but it got too deep and I got too confused about elites eating mermaids, and I just had to turn the internet off. I went too far. I went too far and I don't want to talk about it. But again, where I find TikTok drama, YouTube drama, again, warning things that I see about online safety, things like that. Anything I see on the internet will be coming to you every Wednesday. And as mentioned, on Fridays is when the podcast comes out. So you guys will have an opportunity to catch one of my shows, one of my podcasts 3 times a week, depending on what platform. But I'm going to shut up, guys. Just wanting to remind you to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Comment if you can. Help me share anything. Let me know what you guys think down below. And if you have any topics you want me to cover, let me know. But that's all for now, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time, bye.